Hi, I'm Brittany. I'm a licensed elementary school teacher, but I'm staying home right now to homeschool my two kiddos. And today we're going to talk about 5 ways to use crayons to teach math skills. Okay, so a lot of parents who are new to homeschooling can feel overwhelmed because they don't have all the fun manipulatives that schools have. And a lot of it, homeschooling, a lot of homeschool families do because they've had time to build up manipulatives and find their favorite counters and their favorite measurement toys. And there's a lot of stuff you can feel like you're missing when you're new to homeschooling. And so we're going to talk about ways to use the old bag of crayons that you hopefully have at home, or you can do it with markers too, colored pencils, honestly anything that's got different colors. Now some of these, they wouldn't work for markers because we're going to do something with length. But anyways, just ways to use what you have around your house to teach basic math skills. It doesn't need to be fancy. It doesn't need to be expensive. This is just another way to make life a little easier on yourself so you don't feel like you are missing so much. Okay, so like I said, hopefully you have a bag of crayons lying around, or at least a box. And again, depending on what you have and how many you have, these might not all work, but they should mostly work. Okay, so one of the first basic skills you can teach that they do in kindergarten and preschool is sorting. And this is actually, I've always liked sorting. I've always thought it was therapeutic. Apparently I sorted things when I was a baby and big enough to sit down with all my baby food jars. I think I sorted. I know I put stuff in lines. Anyways, I still like sorting. But if you sit your child down, one of the most important skill sets that children can learn one of the most important skills children can have is sorting. And this isn't just that they can learn to sort crayons when they're younger, just because it's what we want them to do. So they're, doing something that's not on the screen. We really have to learn to sort, to learn to pick up patterns in everyday life. We need to be able to recognize when things are different, how they're different, what's different about them. And this goes into, we see it every day in politics, we see it every day in the workplace. What doesn't belong here, what belongs here, who should work where. Understanding and recognizing differences and knowing how to put those differences to use. It all starts with the basics. So you can have your kiddo start with sorting by color. I want you to find all the pink markers and put them in, this pile right here. And your child, if they're like mine, my daughter was adamant that pink and dark pink and light pink were different colors, and which they're different crayons for sure. But she was not pleased with, putting all the pink in one pile because they were all too different. And so she actually would make dark and light pink piles, and they all had their own pile. But if you've got someone who doesn't care, it's okay. If you're just starting out, just have them do the pink in one pile. It doesn't matter. If they're a little older, then yes, you can have them do all the different piles. That's fine. But this is just to start out. Remember, with homeschooling, it's not all about getting it right the first time. It's not about doing it exactly like the teacher does it at school. I'm in a somewhat unusual position because I have a degree and I am licensed to teach, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do everything in my home the way I would even in a classroom, because classrooms have, 25 kids, and you're getting money from the state, hopefully, to buy counters and manipulatives by the bundle. You buy in bulk, and you don't have that in your house. The state's probably not paying you to go out and buy manipulatives. So it's great to learn to learn to use things that you already have to teach basic skills. So yes, if your child doesn't do it all perfectly because the crayons are different, that's okay. You just want them to get the main idea. And if they do something wrong, if they sit down and they put a purple in the pink section where it's very obviously not pink, talk about it with them. Make sure they've done everything that they can do first. You don't want to squash their little hope that they've done it well. But if you see them doing it wrong, say, oh, you know what? I see you put this one in the pink pile. Does this look like the others? Is it quite pink? And if they say yes, then you can say, oh, actually, this is purple. Let's make a brand new pile for just the purple just the purple crayons. And you can help them begin there. A lot of times they will say, oh, no, and they'll realize that they put it in the wrong one. When I was little, like I said, I would love to make the perfect little rainbow that had all the colors in perfect order. They don't need to do that. It's up to you and your child what they're ready for. So anyways, you've got, you know, our ones over here, and we've had our blue. I told you I enjoy this. It's kind of relaxing. So anyways, actually, I'm going to throw a bonus one in here. So if your child is older, you can actually talk about, and I wouldn't do this for the 2s and 3s at all. You can start it in kindergarten, preschools, even a little early for this, but once they're 6 or 7, that's something interesting to bring in if they've mastered their colors, would be talking about primary colors and secondary colors. Now, if you have done the experiment where you take 6 glasses of water, and I can do this later in another video, but if you do the experiment where you take 6 glasses of water and you fill them all at the same height, and you get the little food droppers and you put red in one and blue in another and yellow in another, you say these are the primary colors. Nothing, you can't mix anything to make yellow. You can't mix anything to make, let me find a good not sparkly one here. Blue. You can't mix anything to make, and everyone knows that red is the hardest color to find when it comes to crayons because it's the one that gets used the most. You can't mix anything to make these colors, so this is a bonus one. But if you mix these colors together, you can make what are called secondary colors. You can make other colors. So, you know, red, and ask them before you do the experiment. Ask them before you do, you know, whether you're coloring or you're mixing water. Ask them, what do you think red and blue make? What color do you think these make together? Ask your child and say, okay, we're going to try it out. Now, this is not white paper. It's just what I have here. So if I put red down and then I put blue down, these colors don't mix really wonderfully because they're crayons. This is not a Crayola crayon. Everyone knows Crayola is best. Everyone knows Crayola is best. You can kind of get a little purple color out of this. The water is much better, but you don't have to do that right then. You can just talk about it. You can say, actually, blue and red make violet, which we know is purple. And you can put it between them and you can see how it would fit as a rainbow. And you can say, okay, what happens if I mix yellow with red? And of course you go out and you get orange. And if you do it like a rainbow, it's easier for them to see because they can see the colors as they move from one side to the other. Okay, what happens if we mix, you know, yellow and blue? And you can take another blue over here if you want. So, oh, we get green. Whoops, am I getting this out of order? And so again, you can see just right here, the basic rainbow. So that's a bonus tip, I guess. You can use these to teach primary and secondary colors. Again, I wouldn't do this for little bitties. They're just learning their colors. My son is still learning his colors, these two. That'll be, honestly, kiddos are still going to be learning it even past the age of, he's 2.5. So he's going to be learning this for a while. But that's a way you can do it. You can practice sorting. You can practice sorting with longer and shorter. Okay, I want you to find all the long crayons in here. And then I want you to make a pile for the short crayons, the ones that are broken. And again, sorting is all about spotting, being able to spot and group differences. You know, why would these belong in a group together, and why would these belong in a group together? If they're, you know, older and you have been going over colors, you can do this for, I would say probably age maybe 7 and up, maybe 8, but you can talk about if you've been doing the color wheel, which again we can talk about it, and the watercolor experiment. But if you've been doing the color wheel, which is you know, you've got your 6 primary and secondary colors all in order, you've got your warm colors and your cool colors, and so you can have them do that. Older kids may not enjoy sorting crayons as much. It just go with what your kid is able to do. But yes, so you can come up with all different ways of sorting. Where are the sparkly crayons? Put all the sparkly and metallic crayons together. Put all the regular crayons together. So you can think of all different ways to sort and to have your children sort, because that kind of practice is really good, especially for ages, I'd say 2 if they're interested. My 2-year-olds were never interested in sorting. As they get older, they usually like it more. But my 2-year-old did surprise me. He apparently can sort. I didn't know he could, but he can because he's done it before when he thought I wasn't looking. But I would say 2 to age 7, maybe, for just the basic sorting skills. Whoops. Okay, so basic sorting is a great way to use these if you don't have counters, you don't have manipulatives, just crayons will do the trick. Or, gosh, my mom used to teach us using, she took all the caps off of the milk cartons because we were really, really low on money when I was little. We had a very tight budget. And so she collected the caps from milk cartons, and we had this box of caps, and it had blue and white and green, and I would sort those for fun. As a kid, I would sit there and sort them because I enjoy it. But you can really make counters out of so many things. If you use those, the fruit pouches for the kids, you can take the tops and wash them off, and because they've got different colors for different flavors, you can use those. Just be careful with, if you have younger children who still stick things in their mouth, be careful with swallow hazards. But yeah, crayons are a great way to practice sorting. Okay, so the next one is counting. Once again, now if you're starting with a brand new counter, someone who's not used to counting objects, I would try to make the objects as much the same as you can. Now, you may not have a big box like this. If not, that's okay. But if you do have a big, or guest bag, this big bag like this, I would try to find crayons that are very similar so the colors aren't distracting. And I've got 4 purples here. And when you're starting to count, you don't want to go any further than like 2 or 3. When they're first beginning, you really just want them to realize that there's one number per counter. So here's 1, 2, and 3 crayons. Oh, let's count those. 1, 2, 3. And you actually can take their finger, and I will do this with my son. I take it and we put our hands together and we count 1, 2, 3, because we really want to cement in that each object gets its own number. So if they're older, they don't need to have all the same color, but that's just when they're beginning, or if you have a child who's very easily distracted. Okay. Let's see. Length is something that we do in kindergarten and pre-K. So the idea that, first of all, length is relative. Long and short is relative. If you're looking at these two here, which one is longer? And what I'll do is I'll take my fingers and I'll go long, short, long, short. And that you're comparing. Say, okay, well, those two are done. Let's see if I can find, I don't know if my son's, okay. Oh, but which one is longer now? And see, you can put them side by side and you say long, short. So you're showing that they're different sizes, and you're showing that it's relative. The length is, when you're comparing, is relative, because this might seem long to the little nubs that break off the tip. So just practicing that, and my gosh, this doesn't take that long. You can literally practice long and short in like 30 seconds, and that's all my son gives me. He gives me like that much and he's gone again. So length is something you can practice with crayons. That one's a little harder if you've got markers, but if you do have markers, you can attach them. If most markers attach at the cap, so you can make longer and shorter sticks of markers, which kids especially love those. Of course, they want to smack people with them, particularly their siblings. That's up to you whether you want to weather that storm or not. Okay, so number 4. Counters. Again, and we've talked a little bit about this with just basic counting, but you can use them for addition and subtraction. So if I have 3 purple crayons and my sister gives me 2 pink crayons, so you start out with, and then I make them count first. Say, okay, how many are we starting with? 1, 2, 3, so that it's cemented in their heads that they have 3 to begin with. You say, okay, Susie gives me 2 more. 1, 2. So how many do we have all together? So now let's count them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And some kids have a hard time if you count them up and just leave them side by side. It depends on the child, but sometimes you actually have to have them move the counters. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Sorry, that's off camera. So addition, same thing with subtraction. So this, and again, you don't have to have them all the same color. Probably by the time you're doing subtraction, unless you have a child who gets distracted really easily, just grab a handful of crayons. Okay, so say I have 5 crayons and my brother needs 2. so we have 5. Let's make sure we have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we have 5. Now what happens if your brother needs 2 crayons? How many do you have? Let's, oh, you gotta count 2 though. 1, 2. Now, as your children get better with addition and subtraction, they will be able to do things like, okay, this is 2. But when they first start, it's really good to have them practice counting them out. 1, 2. How many do I have left? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so basic subtraction. You can even do multiplication and division. Now, obviously, you're not going to be doing long division using crayons. That would be way too much work and not worth it. But if you're starting out with basics, 2 times 2 is how many? Or how much? And really with multiplication, when you're beginning, you're showing them that when you're saying times, you're saying groups of. So if I have 2 groups of 2, so I'm going to make groups of 2, and I'm going to say 2 groups of 2. 2 times 2 is how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. What if I have 3 groups of 2? Okay, so let's add a third group of 2. 3 groups of 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Also, by the time you're doing that, they should be counting by 2s. If you're doing multiplication, they should be counting by multiples. So 2, 4, 6. Same thing with division. If I have 6 crayons and I have 3 children who want equal numbers of crayons, because we have to be fair, how many crayons will each child get? So we'll say, okay, we have 3, and you can even use, I don't know, a whiteboard or a piece of paper, whatever, to draw 3 boxes, or find 3 boxes, or have your children sit there. Say, okay, 1 for you, 1 for you, and 1 for you. Oh, we're going to divide. We have some left, so let's see if we can divide these equally between the 3 children. 1, 2, 3. Oh, so how many crayons did each child get? They got 2 crayons. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now this isn't going to work for the more complex addition and subtraction, but if they're younger and they're just beginning, this is a great way to solidify those ideas. And one of the benefits of doing this kind of work, even if you try to send your child to school on a regular basis, whether you're homeschooling full-time or just because you have to right now, this is a great way to cement in those skills. Because really, when I was working in a classroom, the biggest detriment to so many students is they didn't have the basics. They didn't understand how numbers work and how numbers relate to concrete objects and what they were actually doing when they added or subtracted or multiplied or divided. So this is a great way to go back and make sure that they've got all those basics. Now, if you can do these problems with them and they're like, Mom, I got all of these, and they do, and you give them like 5 and they get them all bang, 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 they need to move up a level. But if they're making mistakes when you do these basic practice problems, this is a great way to practice. Okay, so last thing, patterns. So my son totally is not interested in patterns right now. He pretends that he has a car and he rams them all, and so we're not doing a ton of patterns right now. My daughter loves patterns. She's into beading, and so she's been coming up with her own patterns, and we'll have a whole video on patterns later. But if you're just starting patterns, when teachers teach patterns, we teach them using letters. So a pattern that has only 2 objects that go back and forth. So let's see how many orange in here. Orange crayons I have. Okay, so they don't have to all be the same, but okay, we'll use these. If I have orange and then I have purple, because apparently I just have a ton of purple in here. If I did purple, orange, purple, orange, purple, orange. That is called an A-B pattern. A is one object, one type of object. B is the other type of object. So A, B, A, B, A, B. And what you do when you're doing this kind of pattern is you make it very, very rhythmic, very sing-song. And so you would get a few more, like purple and orange pieces. And you would say, okay, so let's sing it with me. So you have your child repeat it with you. A, B, A, B, A, B. What comes next? So with this one, which AB is what they call it. It's an AB pattern or an ABC pattern if you're using 3 objects, or an AAB pattern, which is AAB, AAB, AAB. When you're just starting, you don't need to worry about calling it AAB. Do it by color. Purple, orange, purple, orange, purple, orange. What comes next? Purple. Oh, what comes after purple? And if they don't know, you go, okay, look back. What comes after this purple? Orange. So what should I come after this purple? Orange. So that's just a basic AB pattern. Again, you can do that with AAB, which would be purple, purple, orange, purple, purple, orange. And you can get as complex as you like. You can stay as simple as you like. So it's just a great way to practice patterns. Something with patterns when you're teaching very young children and you're just starting out is you don't want to have too many differences. So if I was doing, I don't know, let me get the paper out again here. If I was doing a pattern over here, I wouldn't want to be using an orange circle with a purple triangle and a green square, you know, and I don't know, red oval. Don't start too complicated. You're going to really want to go simple first. Try to have as few differences between the objects you're working with as possible. So start with 2. You can move up from there as they're ready, but you don't need to do, you know, tons of different kinds all at the same time. Okay, so that is 5, I guess 6, because I added the bonus one, ways that you can use a bag of crayons as counters. And remember, these don't have to be crayons. You can use bottle caps or plastic milk bottle caps like my mom. Gosh, you can use snacks. You know, I don't know, raisins and pretzels. So that is a way, again, to use just what you have around the house. You can look at all sorts of things. You can use Legos. Legos are fantastic. You can use, you know, if you have enough balls, or my son's obsessed with Hot Wheels. So you can, I mean, good grief, if you had enough books, you could use books or shoes or, you know, just whatever works for you. Keep it simple and use what you have. Don't feel like you need to rush out and buy lots of stuff. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. You can email me at brittany.pearl, that's PERL, .teach@gmail.com. And of course I have my website. I am going to be putting up on brittanypearl.com, and again, Pearl is PERL. And I'll keep a link in the description, but I'm going to be putting up free printables for people who join my newsletter list. And I promise if you join, I'm not going to spam you. I don't have time for that. I have 2 small children and I run 2 businesses. So, and I'm a military wife. So, I won't spam you. If anything, I will probably need to send you more emails than I actually get out. But I will be sending out printables, for example, my free hundreds chart. And I have a number chart that I am working on. I had issues printing it today, so it's mostly done. It's just I have to get the final details done. But I will also be coming out with an assessment that parents can use at home for their young children to figure out where you are, what skills you need to work on, and then printables to go with that, just like I said, like this. We're gonna have all sorts of fun stuff coming up, how to judge which alphabet books are best. I'm gonna have book recommendations, and remember, you can get a lot of books free online right now. A lot of companies are putting things up for free online. Ebooks, well, they don't have the same fun, touchy, feely sensation as a print board book, for example. It's better than nothing. Yeah, so I'm going to have all sorts of book recommendations coming up. If you have questions, I've already told one of my group members on Facebook, and I have a group that I will also put in the links. I've already told her I'm going to be doing a video on how to help your child focus on a subject that's not their favorite. So anyways, I hope that is helpful, and go ahead and like this video if it was helpful, and subscribe if you want to stay updated. That would be great, because I'm going to be sending out quite a few videos in the next few weeks. And keep counting on, and I hope you have a great day.